safe is your Aadhaar card, and is the fact that all of us very often give our Aadhaar card copies or their details quite easily to pretty much any service provider who asks for it, is that okay or not? This is a question that was raised over the weekend because on Sunday there was a sequence of notifications which came out in quick succession that confused quite a lot of people. Let me begin by telling you what happened first. First, there was a notification that said that if you are asked to provide your Aadhaar card or your Aadhaar card copy, give it only to a licensed entity who has the right to ask you for your details. And it mentioned specifically, don't give it randomly at hotels or cinema halls. They're not allowed to ask for your Aadhaar number. It went on to explain how you can actually download a masked version of your Aadhaar card from the website, which will show only the last 4 digits of your card. And this will be a much safer version. Now, as soon as this notification was out, people were alarmed. There was a lot of buzz on social media. People started asking, what does this mean? What about all the places that I've already given my Aadhaar card? Was that unsafe? And lo and behold, in a very short span of time came the U-turn, another notification withdrawing the first one, saying that it was causing a lot of misinformation, hence it stands withdrawn. It still begs the question though, is it safe to give your Aadhaar card to anyone who asks for it? And this is important because pretty much every service provider, every entity wants your Aadhaar card. Now, this unique identification, can it harm you if someone has all of those details? Should you be using a masked version? We're going to be getting into that on the details of this special discussion. But first, let me go across to my colleague Danish, who is taking you through the whole process of getting a masked Aadhaar card if you need it.
Since its inception in 2009, we have seen Aadhaar card becoming one of the most important government IDs of all times. And in the recent past, we have seen a major push from the central government making Aadhaar card mandatory for almost everything. And Aadhaar card is also linked to our PAN card, so we all realize how important can this particular government ID be. But in the recent few days, we have seen a lot of buzz around a mass Aadhaar card. Well, what is a mass Aadhaar card? Well, a mass Aadhaar card contains 12 digits of a unique ID, but the first 8 digits of a mass Aadhaar card is usually hidden, and that particular mass Aadhaar card has only the last 4 digits of your unique ID. So how does one get this mass Aadhaar card? We'll show you some quick steps. Firstly, you need to log in to the UIDAI website, and once you click over there, you have to click on download Aadhaar. Once you go on download Aadhaar, you will see this particular page. You have to give your basic details of your Aadhaar card. You have to fill the CAPTCHA, and then you will get an OTP on your registered mobile number. Once you fill in all the details, this will take you to another page, and then you will be on the dashboard of your Aadhaar card page. Once you log into this place, you have to click on download Aadhaar. On clicking on download Aadhaar, you will get this option, do you want a mass Aadhaar? So if you want to download a mass Aadhaar card, then you must click on this option, and once you click on this, you have to click the next button, and your masked Aadhaar card will get downloaded on your system. And at the same time, if you have to access your mass Aadhaar card, these are the steps that you need to follow. So your password will be the first 4 letters of your name in caps, followed by the year of your birth. So all in all, if we see, in order to make the whole practice of Aadhaar card safe and secure, the government has come out with a mass Aadhaar card, and this masked Aadhaar card can be used by one person. And this can be given at those places where you just need to establish yourself as an individual, where there's a need of an eKYC. That's where you can submit your mass Aadhaar card, and it is recommended that everyone must secure all digits of their Aadhaar card.
All right, so Danish, they're explaining to you how you should get a masked Aadhaar card. But is it now mandatory or not after the withdrawal of that notification? What is the harm if you give all of your Aadhaar card details? And what about all the places you've already given it to? To answer some of these questions, I'm joined now by Virag Gupta. He's a cyber law expert, and advocate N.S. Napinai of the Supreme Court. She's also the advocate founder of cybersathi.com. Thank you to both of you for joining us today on the show. Virag, let me begin by asking the basic question. So, is it safe to give your Aadhaar card copy or not?
No, not only it is unsafe, but it is illegal also. I will explain. Please read the first line of the circular. It says that general public is warned not to share photocopy of one's Aadhaar with any organization. So circular, even if it is withdrawn, so let us understand the law. Law says that there will be one identification number. It never talks about the identity card. So sharing the copy with any organization is unlawful. Even if you have to share, then two qualifications are to be fulfilled. First, it has to be authorized agency. And second, you should share the mass copy. Now,
Circular has been
Aadhaar,
withdrawn, Virag. The circular has been withdrawn.
No.
As of today, can someone ask me for it?
No. I'm talking about law. Circular may have withdrawn, circular may have been issued. Let us read the Aadhaar Act 2016. Aadhaar Act 2016 talks about Aadhaar number. So you need to give Aadhaar number. Where does this copy of Aadhaar card or original Aadhaar card comes into the picture? So Aadhaar has gone into 4 critical stages. The first stage was when it was implemented through the executive order. Second was when the law was passed in the guise of money bill. Third was privacy challenge before the Supreme Court. And fourth was, as per the section 57, this was made mandatory for many things which Supreme Court had struck down. Now the fifth biggest challenge is whether Aadhaar card photocopy is required at all or not.
Okay.
Because only Aadhaar number is needed as per law.
Now, so what happens if you give the photocopy? I understand you're saying this is a law. Let me go to Ms. Napinai on this. So what happens if I give my Aadhaar card, which not just I, many of us have given a copy of the entire card to everyone. So it contains on it, on the back of it at least, an address, which may not be the current permanent address. For a lot of people, it keeps changing. It might not be updated. So what is the information that I've given which could be misused?
The very photocopy itself, Tamanna, can be misused. So one clarification in terms of the law, just to clarify, because the earlier speaker mentioned something, to give a photocopy per se is not illegal. To demand it as a matter of compulsory compliance is illegal. That's the delineation or clarification I wanted to bring in.
Okay.
What the Puttaswamy judgment as well as the law says is that you cannot make the giving of Aadhaar as an identification document mandatory. It has been made voluntary. So therefore, when you're giving this, you're giving away, and here there are 3 different issues here. The first aspect is the kind of data that you're sharing about yourself. The second aspect is, and here this particular circular was in the context of giving photocopies of your Aadhaar card. It's not about the number, it's not about just sharing Aadhaar details, but the photocopy. I can tell you from experience, innumerable cyber crimes and particularly financial frauds like bank frauds, etc., take place, and SIM swap frauds, anything to do with the SIM card, because the Aadhaar is used as a KYC document then,
right,
and your data is compromised. Your rights to your connection, let's say if your SIM card is compromised, your rights to your banking processes is compromised, and cyber crimes are facilitated through the simple process of you having shared a photocopy of your Aadhaar card.
Now, I want to get into one minute. I want to get into more detail on this because this is of what is real value to our viewers today. Mr. Duggal, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, please.
All right. So let's add this point with some 4 examples. So we know that your Aadhaar card or any individual's Aadhaar card and copies of that card along with all of the digits, all of the details, photocopies would be available in various places. I mean, all of us have given it to whoever has asked for it because they say it's a requirement to provide their service. It's a document that is used in a lot of places. It's an identification document. So what is the worst that can happen in real terms?
In real terms, your identity can be stolen and you can be in for a ride for the rest of your life. Why? Because along with your Aadhaar, your biometrics are intrinsically connected. And if you have been routinely handing over your printouts or photocopies of your Aadhaar card to your service providers, to anyone else. Remember, 99% of the Indians, when they hand over photocopies of the Aadhaar cards, do not cross it. Do not write it down that this Aadhaar card is being given to this particular agency for this purposes, nor do they put their signatures. So once that particular photocopy is available, it's perfect, wonderful ammunition available for potential misuse by cyber criminals. And once your identity is withdrawn or is actually stolen, you have no remedy. Look at the Aadhaar Act 2016. Look at the Aadhaar Amendment Act 2019. Both of them have stripped us as Indians or citizens of even the right to complain to the police. So once my Aadhaar number gets compromised, I don't even have the right under the Aadhaar Act to go ahead and complain to the police. It's only the Unique Identification Authority of India that can make a complaint to the police. And if we are saying that, look, we are hunky-dory, it's wonderfully safe, everything is so wonderfully well, then why is there a necessity for UIDAI to keep on filing so many different, more than dozens of FIRs every few months against people who are misusing the Aadhaar? So I think the first clarification that came was nothing but stating the ground reality. But once it was realized that, look, we have stated the ground reality and it's going to show the ministries or the concerned powers in wrong light.
No, but what it has done, no, I don't know if it was a face saver or what was the reason for that quick U-turn, but what it has ended up doing is confusing people thoroughly. Now today, viewers who are watching this may not be sure whether the next time they're asked to give their Aadhaar copy, should they give it or not? What exactly they should ask for in terms of proof, and will it help to give a masked copy or not? So that clarity is very much required. That's what we're attempting to do really. Virag, let me come to you to the retrospect question. Now by now, I think all of us, I can safely say, have given our Aadhaar copies to tons of people who've asked for it without perhaps realizing how it can be misused. It's already out there. What do we do now? Just cross our fingers and hope for the best?
No, for that, main clarity is needed. That clarity is whether Aadhaar can be asked for those areas where it is not mandatory, because it can only be asked for the government subsidies, government schemes, and the PAN as per the Income Tax Act and the PMLA Act. So as per Aadhaar own website, it cannot be mandatory for banking, it cannot be mandatory for the mobile, it cannot be mandatory for the school, education, examination, everywhere. So when it is not mandatory, how can it be asked? So the first question is how they are asking, because government does not want to confront with this issue. Now the second question is, even if it is asked, only number is needed. They can't ask. Asking for photocopy of Aadhaar is illegal. They can't ask because that circular, even if it is withdrawn, law is very clear that only Aadhaar number is needed. And the third issue is, when UIDAI is supplying the Aadhaar card, so why they are not giving the mask card? They should give the mask card so that people can use the photocopy of mask card instead of downloading.
That option is there. That option is there on the website. Our reporter just did a demonstration on how you can get that option.
I'm telling you, when you pay certain fees and UIDAI will supply you the card, Aadhaar card. So instead of supplying this 12-digit card, they should compulsorily supply the mask card. And if somebody asks, then they should give the 12-digit card.
Okay, so you're saying the mask card should be the standard and not the exception. Okay,
yes.
Ma'am, let me come to you to the question of what to do now. What should our viewers do now? And what about everyone they've given their cards to? What documents should you check if someone asks you for a card?
Yeah, that's the crux of the issue, Tamanna. There are two things. The first is your protection would have come in play if the Personal Data Protection Bill had come into the fore, had been enacted. Right now, people believe that they do not have personal data protection, which is incorrect. The IT Act, Section 43A to be very precise, and 72A have civil and criminal provisions respectively. And the rules framed under 43A also set out the data principles, which is of consent of the person who's sharing the data, purpose limitation, restrictions in terms of sharing of data that is already given for a particular purpose, dissemination of it, and most importantly, destruction of it once the purpose is completed. Today, what users will have to look out for, and the difficulty is we don't keep a register of where all we have given the copies to, right? So that is always going to be a problem retrospectively. at least prospectively what users should do as a matter of hygiene and good governance is, whenever, if at all they are going to still continue to share photocopies, they know now they shouldn't, but if they still do, then at least they should mark what is the purpose, to whom have they given it, and what is the limitation of the usage of the copy that they are giving it to. Once it's written on the document itself in such manner that it cannot be cropped out, then to some extent users can at least assume there's some protection. But otherwise, there are remedies in law even for users. I just wanted to clarify on that. There is, of course, a limitation or restriction in terms of only the UIDAI being the complainant when it amounts to abuse of Aadhaar card, etc. But when it is being given for KYC purposes, when somebody is misrepresenting my Aadhaar as someone else's, then I still do have the remedies under Indian Penal Code and IT Act for identity theft and cheating by personation, etc. So that should not be an impediment for people to take their remedies. But one, prevent, protect yourself, and if perchance your Aadhaar has been misused, immediately initiate action.
My question is, how would you even know? Mr. Duggal, you talked about how you can be taken for the ride of your life if your identity is stolen. How would you even know until it's too late? And now the other part of the whole equation is that the reason the Aadhaar card became so popular and why all service providers started asking for it, because they wanted to keep a log as well, especially I would say hotels who want to keep a log of who's coming and staying. They themselves have law enforcement requirements to keep those details. So what do you tell them from now on?
You just tell them, I don't have Aadhaar. In fact, I would like to advise everybody else that if you have Aadhaar and you have a choice not to use Aadhaar, please exercise the choice of not to use Aadhaar. Because Aadhaar ecosystem is thoroughly unsafe. There are so many cybersecurity breaches happening. Well, the central identities data repository of the Aadhaar would be safe. But then, ever since the government started joining up a lot of things with Aadhaar, whether it's bank accounts, whether it's income tax return or corporate returns, this ecosystem has come in, which is porous. And this porous ecosystem has only one message for you. You are there all by yourself. It's your responsibility that you do not share your Aadhaar. And if you can effectively begin with a default that I will from henceforth not use Aadhaar at all, that could be a great starting point, because at the end of the day, once your Aadhaar is compromised, I can promise you, you can go round and round in circles, but you're not likely to get any effective remedy. And the Aadhaar Act, being a special law, overrides everything inconsistent therewith contained in any other law for the time being enforced, including the Indian Penal Code. So the ability of anyone to go to the police on Aadhaar is effectively ruled out by the Aadhaar Act itself. But having said that, you can potentially try your lucks. But even if you try your luck, the chances of you getting success is not at all high. So let's begin with the fundamental basic principles that our parents taught us. Let's learn to first protect our own selves and our own data. And if we can stop using Aadhaar, till such time India doesn't have a dedicated data protection law, a dedicated cybersecurity law, that could be a good starting point. Otherwise, if you're randomly using Aadhaar,
Mr. Duggal, I want to understand, what is the use of the Aadhaar card today to, say, the average urban Indian consumer? Or let me put it more specifically, to those who do not depend on government subsidies or, government incentives, where you need to provide an Aadhaar card as a proof of the beneficiary who is supposed to receive help from the government. If you do not fall into that category, of what use is Aadhaar to me today if it's no longer safe to use as an identity?
Well, there are no effective uses for Aadhaar. Aadhaar was meant for a different purpose altogether. But by making it as a financial bill in the form of the Aadhaar Act, you actually joined it with subsidies. And then people started having a misrepresentation that the Aadhaar was the new ration card of India. And therefore, everybody joined in great queues to get their Aadhaar numbers without even thinking that Aadhaar actually strips you of your privacy. It's actually captured your biometrics data. You don't exactly know how this Aadhaar data is being potentially accessed by state and other agencies. So I think once it's now history and the water's down the bridge, you can't cry foul and say, look, I've given my Aadhaar. Well, you've given Aadhaar, no problem. Let's now hope for the best Stop
Okay.
using to the best extent possible and try to protect yourself.
So no way to obviously go back and track if you do know where you've given it and you can manage to retrieve it and go ahead and do that. Virat, but my question, so now what use is Aadhaar to us if you're not taking a subsidy from the government or you don't have to prove yourself as a beneficiary of any government aid?
As per October 2020-21 data, approximately 132 crore persons have already been given the Aadhaar. So those who are poor and dependent on the government subsidy, they have to compulsorily take it. And those who are paying income tax, so for the PAN, they have to get it. So almost all the persons in India are covered within the domain of Aadhaar. Now, besides identity theft, there are serious issues of the loan fraud. There are serious issues because in Haryana, they have stolen the land records and those biometrics data have been stolen. The basic issue is when we are telling that not to share the Aadhaar copy with the other agencies. Problem is, it is like telling a Delhi person during winters in gas chamber, don't go out because there is a lot of pollution. But when the pollution is there, so the only choice is you become breathless. You don't take any breath. Because when everybody is asking Aadhaar and government is supporting that thing, how can you survive without Aadhaar?
No, you
That's
cannot.
the main question.
No, you cannot. From birth to death, the fact is that you need an Aadhaar card to even survive. So, Ms. Napinai, just the last point there, and I've asked this question now thrice, so the third person I'm asking it to, I'm hoping for a straight answer of what real utility is Aadhaar to me if I'm not taking a government subsidy.
Tamanna, this is not a question which has arisen now. We faced this, we raised this rather when we were contesting the perpetuation of Aadhaar in the Puttaswamy case arguments itself. Now, there are two issues here. One is the Supreme Court upheld the Aadhaar Act. It did not strike down Aadhaar itself as a scheme or the process. Two, it also upheld the Binoy Vishwam judgment, which is for linking of Aadhaar with PAN card.
Yeah.
Once it did that, it already diluted its very first proposition, which was that Aadhaar should not be made mandatory. It should only be, discretionary, because it technically made it mandatory once you are a taxpayer. Many of us who were contesting, and to the extent that I did not even take an Aadhaar card, for complying with the law, we were constrained to do so, right? So today, when you're asking this question, we are in a situation where it has already been upheld. It has not been contested further. There is a review petition. There are a lot of issues still pending before the Supreme Court. It's not like a closed
simply
door.
put, if I say, ma'am, that practically it is of no real value, those who are asking,
But I just wanted to make
those who
one
are asking
point
for it as an
Tamanna.
identity shouldn't be. Just let me
No.
this
I
point.
just wanted to make one final point here.
Yes.
One is we fought it long and hard. But once you got the Aadhaar card and you go stand in a line, the easiest document that gets you through very quickly is the Aadhaar card.
It's true.
And, I always tell people that the enemy of privacy is not surveillance, it's convenience. For the sake of convenience, we are using Aadhaar everywhere. So we have to ensure that we are not substituting convenience for protection. We have to ensure that we are not diluting our privacy for the sake of convenience and make sure that we
I don't know if the fault is with the Indian citizen who wants a
Not
bit of
at all.
convenience.
And the
The law
government
needs to be
cannot-
clearer. You can't have
Exactly,
a
and the
notification and
government
take it
cannot
back in
shy-
a few hours and leaving people even more confused than before.
Yeah, and government cannot shy away from its rights by
Yes.
saying the users have to exercise their
Right.
discretion in the way they use Aadhaar.
Absolutely.
Tamanna, my final question is, whether UIDAI will take action against all those agencies who have collected unauthorized manner Aadhaar photocopy?
Well,
Let them take
I
action.
do not envy the agency or the person who has to track who so many crores of Indians have gone and given their Aadhaar cards to. Let's just hope this is
As a
adding...
regulator, this is their constitutional obligation.
Let's hope this is adding some more information and awareness out there. I want to thank all of you for joining us on this leg of the discussion today.